Hello people and welcome to this video. In this video we are going to cover all the Caro Kann sidelines, or at least most of them, that you need to know because we are done with the main variations. I've covered the 5 main variations in 5 different videos. This video is going to be about the sidelines. So let's already start. I don't want to spend too much time on this as it is just sidelines. You won't face him that many times and they are not so strong. And this time we're going to look at bishop to c4. White wants to attack this very weak f7 square that is only protected by the king. After d5 we have no problem though. Let's get into the first variation, and after takes, bishop to b3. And we've already done the worst part of this variation, because now we can just play knight to f6, we develop, knight to c6, we develop, bishop to f5, we develop, e6, we want to develop. And here I want to play bishop to e7. The engine gives us roughly minus 0.2, minus 0.3. This position is minus 0.5, because the main move here is bishop d6. You want to attack this king, and especially if bishop g5, you can play queen to c7. The idea is that if they take on f6, you open the g file and you might want to attack the king. But I thought that this is a little bit complicated, and attacking so much, it's not really no Caro Kann style. I think we can just simply play bishop to e7 after rook e1 and castles. We have very simple ideas. It is very nice, the position that we have. I think this is what Caro Kann players would usually like to play. What you can decide to do is play h6 first, and then bishop to d6, if you really want this bishop on d6. The plan that I would go for in my games is play b5 immediately. Well, next. Then put the queen on b6, and then you can see if you want to play a5 or not. The point is that we want to put the pawn on b4, and well, we attack this pawn chain. So yeah, this is what I will go for. I think that this is a great plan. Let's go to the next variation. What if they give this check? I've looked at different stuff like bishop to d7, but I found out that knight c6 is just by far the most simplest one. If they take us, well, we have the bishop here, so that is good for us. But, well, actually, let's look at it. So we take a knight to f3, knight f6. What we could do immediately is actually pin the knight, if you want to, because we can do this, and after this we pin it anyway. So you can just do it in a different order. If we play this, you also give them the option to play h3, but even then it's fine. Like put the bishop here, stop them from castling, whatever you would like the most. And after d4 and e6, we have very simple plans. Bishop e7, castle, put the rook on c8, to push at c5, put the queen here, and put a lot of pressure on white's position. So that is the variation with takes on c6, knight to f3, knight f6, knight e5. White wants to put so much pressure on a knight that we almost cannot defend it. But after queen c7, we are fully okay with this. If they take with a piece, then we can just recapture with the pawn, defended by the queen, and we have no problems. After something like d4, e6, castles, bishop d6, it's important to put the bishop on d6 here, not on d7, because they might have some bishop to f4 stuff lining up on the queen. With this bishop on d6, it's not a problem. So yeah, f4 and castles, I think that this is very nice to play. We can kick this bishop out here, and then push the b-pawn, put the bishop on b7, so it has this very nice diagonal. We can use this outpost for the knight. Very simple to play. So let's go to another variation where they immediately play queen h5 after we take on e4. Here they do want to attack the f7 pawn, but we can play g6. We stop this threat, and at the same time we can develop this bishop. So queen h4. Also, if you're wondering what happens if queen e5 going for this, we can just play knight to f6. So queen h4, they attack this pawn. Knight to f6, we defend it. And after knight to c3, we could maybe try to cling onto it with bishop to f5, but it's not really great square for the bishop for now. I think we just want to go for development after takes. And castles, I think the plans are very simple after this. We just play e5, bishop on f5, and knight d7 very often. Of course, everything can change. It doesn't have to be this way of development, but it's very simple. Like, if white ever wants to get this bishop out, we can take on b2. White definitely has some problems. Well, that was the bishop c4 variation. What I now want to look at is here. Anything with knight to f3. So this is the variation we want to look at. What I have covered here is d3. This is pretty popular, and we want to take this endgame offer. Now, white cannot castle. But at the same time, we have some weird development, like this knight cannot go on c6. Well, we can just develop it through d7. I think we should be very okay here. There is no very forcing theory line, so yeah, I think you should be okay in an endgame, considering that Caro Kann just overall very often goes into an endgame. Let's go to another variation. What if they take us? And play knight to e5. The idea is to put a bishop on b5, and the light squares are extremely weak. Well, the main move here is knight to c6, but so many complications happen here, like knight to c6, bishop goes to b5, then we need to play bishop d7, but then they get this bishop here. I don't know exactly. I thought, well, why not play e6? We just stop this, it's completely fine. After d4, we can now play knight c6. I've written some errors, it might seem complicated, but it's really not. So, we want to take on e5. After that, we want to replace the knight via e7 into c6. Then we want to put a bishop on e7, then we want to castle, and we want to put a bishop on f5. Here, for example, put the bishop on f5 first, and then e6. Now you can put the knight on c6, put the bishop on e7, and then castle. From this point on, it's very playable. Rook on c8 would be also very nice. Okay, let's do the last variation, where they play e5. So, this is not really the advanced variation. Now, of course, white could play d4 and retranspose, but here they have this extra option of knight h4. Now that they spent one move on putting the knight out instead of moving a pawn, they do get this option, and it's not really great. Some people tried to play bishop d7, but not with great success, to be honest. It's pretty difficult to play. So what we want to do here is bishop g4. After something like d4, e6, c3. Here the main move by the engine is to play c5, but there is some complications. Like, for example, after takes, we need to take the knight. Because if we were to take here, well, they can do this. And we will lose a bishop. And then after this, like queen g3, for example, knight e7, queen takes knight g6, we have development here. Something like this. But at the same time, we are down on material. I was not so sure about this. I just tried to see if there is something easier to play, and there definitely was. We play knight to d7. So now we want to play c5, and there is no more checks. The idea is not really to take back on c5 with the knight, but it's simply just to stop this queen from checking our king. So bishop b2 is c5, we want to retake with the bishop. After knight e7, it's extremely simple. Put the knight on c6, put the bishop on e7, a castle, and attack this center. You can also play queen b6 to help out. But after they take, we can just take back with the knight. And it's pretty much the same plans. Put the knight on c6, put the bishop on e7, then short castle. So that was the variations, the sidelines that I covered. I think that if you just learn this whole repertoire, not move by move, but if you just try to listen to the things that I said, like how you play those positions or what I typed in the study, then you should be very good with the Caro Kann. You can play it in tournaments, you can play it in online games, whatever you want. I think this is enough. This study has 48 chapters with so much analysis. I'm just thinking of doing a video of me kind of explaining the main ideas of the Caro Kann, now that we have the whole repertoire. And yeah, I'm very happy that it's finally done. We can continue with another opening. I still have to decide which one it is, but anyways, have a nice day and see you soon.